I had to evaluate an idea that you could capture CO2 with snail slime. So yeah, apparently
snail slime, yeah.
Snail mucus can capture CO2. So yeah, you at first you're like, what the, and so you read the paper, you read the file.
So what's the conclusion about this?
This innovation hasn't passed the
it hasn't passed, but you need to be able to scale it. So at some point, if we
scale snails, that's good pronunciation exercise.
Yeah, exactly.
Scale the slime.
The slime. Oh no.
That's the bit. That's the bit that was the capture. You just told me that was capture part.
We don't do that.
Looking at some of the examples that you have, can you give us one or two of your favorites that really you thought, wow, when you saw this, you thought, this is going to work? Have you had that feeling?
All day, every day. I mean, yeah.
But if you want an example, I can maybe talk about Beyond the Sea. And I hope if my English is not as good, Emma is going to help me because some specific words sometimes are really hard to remember. But this is a famous skipper in France. So that name is Yves Parlier. And he had this conviction that it's really important to decarbonize the merchant navy. And he's right, because if it would be a country, it would be the 6th biggest polluters. So it's really heavy and it's a really well-known market. It's 100,000 boats, and that represents 3% of the whole world CO2 emissions. And
I don't think most people know that.
No, not that much. And that's what's interesting. It's often regarding industrial and really specific places you could have the biggest impact, and people don't know that. And so it's each year for the ship owner, it's 400 billions euro of spending in fuel. So it's a huge market. And Yves Parlier understood that they just couldn't replace their boats with hydrogen boats or all these things we are talking about, because these boats are like capex, it costs a lot, and they won't do that. So the only thing they can do is retrofit. They can transform the already existing boats. But what we have seen is that if we are just doing like normal sails like we have done forever before, we are going to miss what we learned about wind since a couple of decades, because what we know now is that the high altitude winds are way more powerful and consistent, and so the traction is way more bigger. So he had decided to create giant wings to go in high altitude, being fully automated to just pull the boats. And it looks a bit crazy when you see this the first time. But the idea is that it can reduce from 20 to 40% the fuel consumption of the boats. And when we have met with Yves Parlier, the mathematics and the theoretical models were really strong, but in the reality, it was like a 9 square meter that was pulling a car, and it was not really existing. And when I'm talking about early stage and risky, here we are. But we have been through the assessors, through the scientific committee, and they said it's really a good idea. Indeed, it could really change this industry, and there's no reason that it won't work. So.
Because they looked very precisely through the models and they said, okay, it's credible. It's not kind of a genius that just thought
about an idea,
yeah.
But also it has clearly the global impact. I mean, given the fact that the merchant navy accounts for 3% of
crazy.
I don't think most people really go around thinking about that. But that's, again, I'm sure what Thomas would have talked about if he was here. We need to tackle the big things first,
of course.
And then we can whittle down to peeing in the shower or something like that.
It's the 2080 rule.
Yeah, 2080, exactly.